Do an activity that you used to do as a kid without any judgment. Don't look at it as wasting time. Look at it as connecting to yourself and building up your confidence so that you're able to be more visible and more authentic when you do step into the spotlight.
83% of Americans identify as not very happy, which can hold you back and negatively affect your relationships and your business. On this podcast, we discuss the proven steps to happiness so you can restore balance and rekindle your joy.
Welcome to another episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. Hope you're having an amazing day. Today, we have a really cool topic and a really cool guest. Tracy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Brad.
Thank you. All right, as we always do, we don't waste any time. We jump right in. So we're talking about a lot of cool stuff today, and intuition is one of them. So I want you to explain how intuition plays this crucial role in guiding business decisions and fostering relationships. And how have you seen this manifest in your own career and those of your clients?
So, intuition, for those of you who are not in touch with it yet or haven't explored it, it's really that inner voice that talks to you. It gives you these little hints of an idea. And when we listen to that inner voice, small steps lead to giant leaps. And I've seen this for myself. I've seen this for my clients. Personally, the most recent fun story I've had with my intuition is that I got this inkling all of a sudden of okay, look for a breathwork retreat. And I was like, okay. So I started Googling breathwork retreats, didn't find anything. I said, okay, well, maybe that's, going to come up at another time. Then I got this inkling of oh, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. You need to write. And I was just like, what? I know I'm very much a perfectionist. So when it comes to writing a book, I'm like, well, it's going to take me forever. It's going to take me years because I want everything to be ideal. So I let some of that go, because you just listen to your intuition and then you allow it to guide you. And all of a sudden, I got this message, this email from a woman I did breathwork with at a business conference, and she was hosting a breathwork and book writing retreat. So now I'm co-authoring a book. I'll be published by the end of the year, and then we're going to have a launch party in Reno. And this all happened in a few months. So it's like a massive step, but just these massive leap, these small steps along the way that got me there. Does that make sense, Brad?
It makes 100% sense. It's almost like I'm hearing you saying it's like you've combined manifestation and intuition, right?
Oh, absolutely. Intuition is the key to manifestation. If you are out there trying to manifest something, listen to that inner voice, take those small little actions. You'll be amazed by your results.
Yeah. So if I'd heard this 5 years ago, I'd have been like, this is woo woo. I don't get it. But now I get it. And actually, it's a big part of my life because most of us who have gone through some type of childhood trauma, and that's most of us, or childhood stress, and we have these issues, whether they're perfectionist, or in my case, not feeling enough, or other people might be addiction, whatever. It's because they have gone through this tough time and they've had to disconnect. And when you disconnect from yourself, you're not your authentic self. You don't even follow your intuition. And as human beings, we have this gift that most mammals aren't given, and that's the ability to have this intuition. So now in my life, I am my authentic self. I'm happier than ever because I don't need to wear the mask or use weed or alcohol to make myself feel better. But one really cool thing I do, Tracy, is when I'm at a crossroads, I'm just like, do I want to do this or do I want to do this? And I just follow my intuition. And
Yes.
the universe is always conspiring in your best interest, believe it or not. So this book writer coming together with the breath work, there's the universe saying, this is what you want, Tracey-Ann. We're going to hand it to you.
And the process was so easy. We did our meditations, our breath work, and that's the basis for the book. So it's all, once again, about intuition and how small steps can just cause our lives to just bloom and become more fulfilling in ways that we just never anticipated.
So why are you here? Why do you do this work? What's your story?
So I am really passionate about intuition because in 2014, I was just at a rock bottom in my life. I was pursuing acting. That wasn't going particularly well. I had a lot of improperly diagnosed autoimmune issues that were running rampant. And then me and my husband, we weren't getting along, and we were thinking actually about separating at the time. And I remember just thinking of like, okay, if I'm going to essentially lose everything, like what do I want to go all in on? And this workshop came up randomly from my acting coach called Develop Your Intuition. And that is where I started my spiritual journey, really. And once I went into that workshop, I learned so much about myself and how I was disconnecting, once again, like based off of childhood trauma. I wasn't trusting myself. I was doing things that everyone else said would be good for me, conventional wisdom, but it wasn't resonating and it wasn't creating the results that I wanted. And once I did that course, I just let go. My acting career started to take off, funny enough. My husband and I, we were able to heal our relationship. We've been married for almost 12 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just kind of amazing. These, like, once again, these small little nudges that the universe gives us, these little signs, when we say yes to them, it's exponential, the results that we receive. So now I'm in a space where I've realized intuition is really my passion in life. And I really want to help people of color, especially women, develop their intuition so that they feel more empowered in a world that really doesn't tend to value women of color outside of support roles. We don't, get to play the main character in our lives sometimes. So it's great to empower them to realize, like, yes, I can create the life that I really am yearning and desiring to live.
Yes, everyone can create the life that they deserve. And that's why my company is called Limitless You. We believe everyone is limitless. Tracy Ann, was there a correlation between you doing the work and beginning the spiritual journey and your autoimmune disease or issues going away?
Absolutely. So it took a lot of getting in my body because when people struggle with autoimmune issues, they tend to disconnect in order to function in society, show up and be reliable, put on the mask. And so there was a big disconnect that was happening. I was showing up on camera very vibrant, but in my personal life, I was bedridden practically. So once I started to reconnect with myself through my intuition, so this was through meditation, Reiki, even like a long walk in nature, that's meditation. It would really ground me and I was able to see things more clearly and from a different perspective than with I am filled with all the noise of what everyone else has to say. And so with time, I learned to trust my body, to live in my body, to trust the wisdom that the body holds for us. And it led me towards healing. And I now lead a pretty active life. I still have hiccups here and there, but they don't stop me from doing the work that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, most autoimmune diseases and most illnesses are rooted in stress. And I've read, I won't say countless books, but 3 or 4 books by some top doctors and some non-doctors that actually are healers. And again, another thing 5 years ago, I'd have been like, what? Someone has an autoimmune disease because of stuff that happened in their childhood? Like, no way. But now it's just like, yes. So if you're listening to this and you have autoimmune issues, or you have what the doctors love to say, idiopathic, which means no known cause, I can assure you there's a cause. And the cause is likely rooted in stress from years and years ago. So take Tracy Ann's advice, start the healing process. Take my advice, start the healing process, because you won't only see your business thrive and your relationship take off like Tracy Ann, but your health will get better. Like everything, prosperity and abundance, everything gets better. So, man, this is great stuff. I almost feel like you're doing very similar work that I do. You're just calling it intuition. And your intuition is really matched to authenticity, right?
Absolutely. You cannot be in alignment with your intuition if you're not being authentic with yourself.
Yes. And as children, when we have the mother or father who can't take the fact that we're yelling or that we're misbehaving because of their childhood, we get scared and we're like, we're making mom and dad mad, and they're the people who feed us, so we better not keep doing it. So we're going to change who we are. That's how we protect ourselves, right? And it's great when you're 6 years old, but when you're 47, 37, 60, it doesn't work well. So this is great stuff. I didn't know where this was heading. This is amazing. So we're speaking about authenticity. Can you share strategies on how entrepreneurs can stay true to themselves, i.e., authenticity, while navigating the competitive business landscape?
Yeah. So the first thing you want to do is lead with the things that you love. Lead with your passions. That's how I encourage all of my clients to network and create collaborations is do what you love. I had one client who I recommended that to her. She went on a hiking, went to join this hiking group. She ended up getting her first paid speaking engagement from that group. And it's just when you trust that what you love will draw you to those people who are naturally going to be attracted to what you have to offer and your energy, it's powerful. Things happen very, very quickly.
So do what you love.
Do what
Yeah.
you love.
And if you do what you love, there's always almost going to be an impact or a problem that you can solve. And with that, that's how you get paid. So if
Absolutely.
you're in a job that you don't like and you're like, I've got to do this, that is not the truth. It's just another untruth that you're living under. The untruth that caused the authenticity is I'm not, in my case, I'm not enough. My dad made me feel that way. So that was the untruth that ruled my life. This is just another untruth. You can have a job and a career that you love. There's this great song that I love. It's like, "Hey, every day I'm on vacation
Oh, I
because I
love
love."
that song by the Dirty Heads. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. You know that because
Yeah.
I love my occupation. I wake up thinking that every day. Like it wasn't always that way. I got into real estate thinking I got to make a bunch of money to prove my worth, and it was like a slug. Right now, with the mind and the neuroscience and childhood trauma. Oh my gosh, like I love this stuff. As you can probably tell, I could talk to you for 24 hours about this work, Tracy, and it's like it's such a blessing.
And it's
So
so Oh, and
go
I
ahead.
wanted to throw out some practical tips too if they feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable in their bodies. A trick that I've learned to, if you're uncomfortable in the moment during this, like something that feels high stakes, roll your shoulders back, open up your throat, and it creates the sense of like it boosts your testosterone in your body. And then just take deep belly breaths, and it'll reduce your anxiety, and you'll feel way more confident in the moment. If you're struggling to put yourself out there, that's just a little body hack for you.
Yeah, opening your throat, I think you said, also lowers your jaw, and I've heard that's a hack too. Just relax. Like
Oh,
when we get angry, our jaw tightens up because it's like we got to bite something because we are animals, right? We're like,
yeah.
so so just be aware of that. That's amazing advice. So we're gonna take like kind of a turn into some stuff that I don't know a whole lot about, but I'm fascinated.
Yay.
You incorporate astrology.
I do.
How do you incorporate it into your coaching practice?
So we start out with your rising signs, or excuse me, your big three, which is your sun, moon, and rising. Most people know the sun, it's when you were born, but then you have to kind of put in your birth chart to analyze the rest. But your sun sign is very much, it holds your strengths, it holds your mission to your business. So like for you, Brad, you base everything off of your values. You really live your values, and that has offered you so much freedom and so much fulfillment because you're a Taurus, and Taurus is based off of values. For me as a Libra, I'm really big on equity. That's why I'm so big on helping women of color in particular. It's like, yes, you can have everything that you want, and you don't have to strive for it. You don't have to overwork yourself. You can trust yourself, trust your body, and you can live a life of balance while still making an income, that you can live off of. So that's where we do with the sun sign. The moon is how we connect to each other, and how it's also what people tend to pay you for. So me, I am a Leo moon. Leo is very much about the spotlight and helping others shine. With my moon, I teach people how to trust their unique gifts, what makes them special, and to step into that spotlight for themselves. And then if you know your rising sign or your ascendant, that's very much about where you're going in your business. It helps you create consistency, visibility, and it helps you to understand what do we need to say yes to and what do we need to maybe outsource for our business. So I'm a Taurus rising. I'm very much about ease, comfort, and convenience. So a lot of things I tend to say, okay, if this is not something that I'm really fired up about, I'm going to outsource that. I'm going to hire somebody else. And it just creates so much convenience in my business, and where I don't have to fight in my head about, am I wasting this money, or am I spending it wisely? It's like, no, I'm getting the ROI. I know what I need out of the situation.
So lots of questions around this. How does one find out their sun, moon, and rising signs?
So you can go to, I think it's called astrocafe.com, and you just put in your birth date, your birth time, and the place you were born. It will tell you all this information and so much more. And I will help you sort through it because it can be overwhelming when you start out.
So why do you use this astrology stuff?
So when I started the early stages of my business, I was doing energy reading sessions, but just for my own like curiosity, I started to categorize based off of their sun, moon, and rising. And I would notice commonalities in the themes that were coming up in their lives, as well as their natural strengths and talents and abilities. And I was thinking, okay, like if we can leverage what's already here, their strengths to overcome these challenges, they're just going to find so much ease. And so I taught them based off of their sun signs, like, hey, did you notice that, you're a Scorpio, you really need to go deep with people, you can't keep it surface level? And they would say, yeah, I guess that's like what's holding me back. But once again, we'd have to overcome some of the childhood issues that would come up, because that's another big thing for people in business. They often, when they're posting or creating something new, there's a thought in the back of the mind of like, what would my dad say? Or what would my mom say? What were they going to think if they see this? So it's just helping them overcome those inner and external blockages so that they can trust, like, I am made to be successful. I have this toolbox. I'm going to learn how to use these tools effectively for what I want.
So is there any correlation between the Enneagram and this
So
work?
it's interesting. I haven't yet, because I haven't explored Enneagram that deeply. Human design, definitely, I can speak to that, as well as numerology. But Enneagram, I'm new to. I actually learned about it on the retreat. So I learned that I'm an eight.
Interesting. Yeah, because I've done it, and it's again, people are going to be like, "Oh, this is some woo woo stuff," but this stuff is like real. Like,
It is, yeah.
you can stay closed minded, and hopefully you're closed minded and are living a wonderful life. But if you're closed minded and have a bad relationship or bad health or whatever, your finances suck, you might want to just be like, what do I have to lose? Other
Yeah.
stuff isn't working for me. I've got a past relative, will say, who is like, yeah, we don't need your woo woo stuff. And you look at my life compared to their life, and it's just like it's on a whole different plane. I'm like, well, your non woo woo stuff in Western medicine isn't working too good for you, so you may want to consider it. Why not? What do you have
Yeah.
to lose? You know?
And that's the other part. I think sometimes being a thought leader, it requires people to be almost confronted by you living your truth. It makes them question everything that they believe and have manifested in their lives. And it almost makes it easier to say, oh, that doesn't make any sense, than to acknowledge, like, hey, what is my role in creating this life that I have before me?
Yes, I have that going on right now in my life too, with family members judging me based on, yeah, because if my life rights, then their life is wrong. And
Right.
so I know you do a lot of work. You're like a certified Reiki. How do you pronounce that? Reiki.
Reiki, like
Okay.
ray of
Yeah.
sunlight and the key to unlock. So Reiki master teacher.
Okay. So you do a lot of work and you have a lot of experience with energy. So what are some common energetic barriers that you've noticed in your work with entrepreneurs, and what techniques do you use to help them overcome these challenges?
So we did mention one of them already, and that is childhood trauma coming up and telling us to be small. So as an energy reader, I would encounter it a lot of times in people's solar plexus. There would be like a cord attached to somebody else. And so basically, every action is being run through the filter of, will this relative approve? And that can be so limiting, because you're not here to impress your relatives. You're not born to impress your relatives. You're here to add a new flavor of the divine to the earth. So I would see that a lot, and how we overcome it is usually by tending to that inner child. So doing activities that you would love, but maybe weren't allowed in your home. Like I used to love to like dress up and play pretend, but it was seen as like overly childish, even as like a young girl in my home, because my mom was an immigrant. It was very much about like achievement, academics, like those were the things I was praised for. Whereas this was silly and a hobby. And so now I find just so much play in my work and just with my kids of just being willing to inhabit new energies and explore new energies and not be afraid of what they have to show me. So if you're having trouble really stepping out into the spotlight because you're afraid of what somebody might say from your family of origin, this means that you really need to tend to that part of yourself. So do an activity that you used to do as a kid without any judgment. Don't look at it as wasting time. Look at it as connecting to yourself and building up your confidence so that you're able to be more visible and more authentic when you do step into the spotlight. Another big one is overthinking. So a lot of people, especially women of color, they've been taught this perfectionism thing. And so, like I talked about my own experience with perfectionism, it can really hinder us and make us think that everything is all or nothing. But when we let that go and when we move more into a place of experimentation, that can be very freeing. So when people get into overthinking, I'm like, no, we're going to go back to the body. We're going to get back to the breath. We're going to do a meditation. We're going to feel into our chakras. And like, for example, I had a client who was overthinking. She wanted to create her podcast topics. And I was like, okay. She's like, let's brainstorm some. And I said, no, we're not going to brainstorm. We're going to meditate. And so immediately we went into this content creation meditation that I channeled, and she had 5 topics within 5 minutes. So it's these little things that we can do to get to almost like put ourselves back into balance with ourselves inside.
So, yeah, some great stuff I want to touch on. So, the part about doing what you weren't allowed to do as a child that you'd love to do, when you go do that activity, is it actually shifting the energy that's stuck in those areas that's causing you the negative, whatever behavior or outcomes?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because you're re-accessing a part of yourself, and when we don't do things because of a fear of rejection, abandonment, humiliation, that actually builds up in our energy channels. So they live somewhere. It doesn't just disappear. You have to actually feel the emotion fully to process it and to release it. And you also have to acknowledge it. That's part of the process. And a lot of times as kids, what we do is we rationalize it of like, oh no, it is stupid, or oh no, they're right, like they're successful, my mom knows best, and you don't listen to yourself. So when we give ourselves the opportunity to be heard on that level as the inner child, it's very healing. And a lot of times we attract other people who will have the same interests, and that can be healing as well, building that community.
Really cool. I remember Eckhart Tolle had said that your ego is really your parents.
Ooh,
Isn't that interesting?
that's
It's that
very interesting.
it's that voice. And then you also mentioned perfectionism. I had another person I studied under that said, "Why is someone a perfectionist as an adult? Because their imperfect self wasn't good enough as a child." So
Absolutely.
you're like, and this is oftentimes people think I want to blame the parents, and I never want to blame the parents. It's just the opposite. I actually say it's not their fault. Let's like, I think you even alluded to this in your family. And I had a podcast guest, my last podcast guest, Toddy, her family was from Ethiopia. And she was like, it was all about grades. So
Yeah.
it never, so the way that she interpreted it, and you might have interpreted it, certainly not for grades in my, but it's all about I'm not enough. Like I can B, but you didn't get an A. And if you made an A, you should have made an A plus. And our parents are doing what they think is best. I did this to my son with golf. Okay, great. You just won that golf tournament. That's over. Let's go on to the next one instead of celebrating. So he felt like it doesn't matter what I do, it's never going to be enough for my dad. And here I am. I love my son. Like I would die for him in a moment. I've been a single dad with, he's an adult now, 22, but I would do anything for the kid. And I didn't know the way that my behavior was negatively affecting him, and why it was my ego. I was my subconscious. I wasn't doing it consciously. Was pushing him, thinking, "Oh, if he can only be a professional golfer, I'll be loved and I'll be worthy."
And I think the same is true for my mom. Like she didn't grow up with her mother, so it's like I was her route to success. And I also do want to say there are some planetary things that come in line with that. Like we have a generational planet, Pluto. It brings out certain energies in each generation. That's why they are so distinct. And sometimes we're doing the higher expression of that, which is sounds like you are now. Like now that you're more aware and more in touch with yourself, you're able to show up for your son in a more supportive way. And it's just that's part of our journey in life is to understand the energies that are surrounding us and how can we leverage them in a way that is positive, that has an impact that we feel proud of, right?
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you're wondering, do I have some of those energies? Do I have some of those hidden subconscious beliefs that Brad and Tracey-Ann are talking about? Please do yourself a favor, your business a favor, your family a favor, your health a favor, and go to unlocklimitlessyou.com/quiz and take our 3-minute, 12 question self love quiz. Because Tracy-Ann talked about awareness. I had no awareness for 47 years. I was trying to be a better father, husband, friend, business leader, but I had no idea that I had these limited beliefs that were hidden in my subconscious brain that were controlling me and not in a good way. So go to unlocklimitlessyou.com/quiz right now, take the quiz. And this could be the awareness that starts you on a journey that changes your life in ways that you might not even be able to imagine right now. So go do that. Tracey-Ann, as we start to wrap up this amazing show, I know you've had a lot of success stories. Can you share one that kind of highlights the transformation that's possible when one fully embraces their intuition and their authentic self?
Yeah, so I have a few, but I will start with one. One of my current clients, Alyssa Harris, her company is called the Karuna Lab. She was terrified to put herself out there. She felt like she didn't have any gifts that were really worth showing. And then I found her overthinking and trying to, perfect this one course before she's ready to do this or like reach out to people. And we said, no, we're not going to do that. We're really going to get in touch with your body. What is your body saying? And her body was asking for more rest. And this terrified her because growing up, rest was not allowed. She was in a position where she was essentially co-parenting with her mom, taking care of her brother who's on the spectrum and her younger sister. And so there's a lot of pressure on her to constantly perform. So rest was pretty taboo. But once we started tapping into her need to rest, her desire. She loves tarot. She loves web design as well and astrology. When we started to tap into those, all of a sudden referrals started to come to her, and she ended up making just under 6K in 6 sessions. So this is like these small little tweaks that we do when we listen to our body. That is a form of intuition. That is guiding us to our next step. Another one that I'm super proud of, a friend and client, her name is Allie. She's a photographer, and she has been building her photography business by attending events and just reaching out to people who really resonate with her values. And it led to this amazing opportunity. She just signed her biggest contract for 8K for one day. She goes
Oh,
in, and she goes into a conference, does the shoot, and just because of her energy, she's a Leo rising, very gregarious, very lovable. I know she's going to book clients from this conference experience that she's already getting paid handsomely for. So it's once again just when you trust yourself, do what you love, and listen to your body. You can do no wrong. Even something that feels like a misstep is actually leading you exactly to where you want to go.
do what you love and listen to your body. I love that because as a child, if you listen to your body, mom didn't give me a cookie when I was 5. I'm making this up. So I told her I hated her and she yelled at me and cried for 2 hours. And then dad came home and spanked me. Well, you listen to your body then and see what it got you. So it was just a
Mm.
protection mechanism. So all of this inauthenticity that Tracy-Ann and myself work with clients was just a way to protect yourself when you're a child. So it's not your fault. Whatever you're dealing with as an adult, it's not your fault. It's your responsibility once you have the awareness, but it's not your fault. So just embrace that and know that big change can happen in a fast way. So you mentioned a couple things in your first client success story. Rest was taboo. I just wanted to touch on that. Rest was taboo because if you're resting, you can't be proving you're enough, right? And if you feel not
Exactly.
enough, this goes to adults too. I've worked with people who have enough money to retire, but they're working their self crazy. Why? Because if they rest, they can't be proving that they're enough, and they don't if they don't feel enough, they got to keep working and working and working. That's why there are billionaires that take their lives, right? It has nothing to do with money. If you don't feel enough, it's never enough. And then you mentioned co-parenting. What child? Do you know how many clients I've had? They're like, I had to take care of my kids, my siblings. Sorry, not my kids,
Mm.
my siblings, and my parents were never there. Tracy-Ann, can a child effectively play the role of a parent?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's not what children are for.
No. So if you're given a role that you can't succeed at, what do you think that little child is saying of themselves?
Once again, I'm not enough.
I failed. I'm not enough. So again, parents go out and work. They're like, I gotta earn because I gotta put food on the table and make the rent or the mortgage payment, right? So my 12-year-old can watch these siblings. My 9-year-old can watch these siblings. They're not doing it on purpose, but they don't know the destruction they're causing in that kid's life.
The
And
pressure.
yeah, yeah, something as innocent as, oh, can you babysit your sister? I mean, yeah, it was it's just so fascinating. Tracey-Ann, where can people reach you if they want to reach out to you?
So if you want to reach out to me, you can check out my website. That's www.traceyannrose.com, and it's spelled TRACEYANNROSE.
Is there anything that I didn't ask that you want to leave the listeners with?
I guess if we can just leave them with anything, just really learn how to listen to that inner voice, and you'll be surprised and shocked by the results that you receive.
I second and third that and fourth that. It's a way to heal that I don't think a lot of people talk about. But gosh, you're given this innate ability to follow your gut and have this intuition. It's a benefit, is a strength. Use it. Stop going against your gut. How many times have you heard, "Oh, I was dating this person and these red flags came up, but I just overlooked them." Or I felt I was going to my car and something didn't feel right, but I went and something bad happened. Like, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Listen to your intuition. Even if it's like you're driving to work and your intuition's saying, "Why do you do this every day? This is terrible." Well, then stop doing it. Figure out a better way. There is always a better way. Reach out to Tracey-Ann, reach out to myself. There's coaches, there's countless, like, just make a change, because you were not put here to go to a job you didn't like and suffer. You were put here to thrive. You were put here for a massive mission. So, Tracey-Ann, thank you so much. That was amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
That concludes another episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. Remember, I'm on a mission to help 1 million people can radically change their lives from reducing these limiting beliefs, or not reducing, eliminating these limiting beliefs. And I can't reach 1 million people alone. So if you like the content today, please share it, rate it, review it. Anything you can do to help me get the word out would be greatly appreciated. And until next time, love heals all.
Hit subscribe if you don't want to miss out on more life-changing content. And if you're struggling, you don't have to. Go to bradchandler.com/contact. There, you can join the Facebook community of like-minded entrepreneurs, and you'll see a button to schedule your freedom and happiness call. See you on the next episode.